Good morning. It's Buddha's in your landfill again. So let's see what we can find today in our own backyard. Yesterday we talked about how to turn, the internet was down and I was experiencing some annoyance, as we do when this happens. And so I turned it into a talk. And so what we talked about yesterday was how when we are annoyed, and how, mind you, now, annoyance is like on a degree of disturbance. Annoyance is way back down here about 1 inch, and it can go all the way to anger and panic attack and shooting somebody or yourself. So I mean, it's a degree here. So we're looking at the first little ripple in the pond of the mind that we could say is mild irritation or annoyance, or something is disturbed, and so there's a little thorn I want to get out. So we're looking at a minor disturbance here, and how it can go in two directions yesterday. I'm annoyed, but I'm okay with the feeling of being annoyed, or I'm annoyed and I'm not okay with this feeling because it shouldn't be. And the internet and the CenturyLink and or I'm going to change my thing, my service, and I'm really angry and I can't stand this, and I'll not put up with this. You see, so it goes in two different ways: creative or destructive. Creativity or violence, self-destruction, karma. So let's pick this up and move it along a little bit and have another moment of Zen. I like that. You know, John Stewart always had his moments of Zen, and so when a moment of Zen, when I use it, a moment of Zen is aha. I understand. I see something. So a moment of light, a moment of understanding when you connect dots. Aha. Connecting dots creates aha and a bigger picture or an understanding, and the thorn, the annoyance is removed when you connect the dots and see a bigger picture. It's the narrow view that creates the annoyance because it's a misplaced blame. So we're interested in enlarging the picture with understanding, connecting dots, and that's a Zen moment. So I wanted to take a look today at alchemy. You know, I do photo restoration and minor photography and passports and stuff like that. But the other day, a fellow came by to get some pictures restored. He's a gold miner. Well, actually, he's a gold prospector. He actually he actually finds gold up in the west of here in the Blue Ridge, and he also has a panning for gold craft show that he takes to wine festivals and everything, where the kids will come and pan for flecks of gold, and you get a little vial, and he salts the sand so they can find it, So it's an actual. He creates the reenactment of the prospectors in the gold rush. And he had some nuggets. He had some quartz with gold flakes and gold lines in it. And I was so fascinated with this story because he was so, this was his passionate metaphor for his whole life. He's always, there could be gold here. He said, you can find gold anywhere. So this whole idea of you can find gold in your backyard. You can turn a rock, and he was talking about different experiences where he'd be working with somebody in a mine thing like that, and there'd be a pile of rocks over there, and they would discard it, and he would say, do you mind if I look at these rocks? He said, no, and he would look at it and clean it off, and he'd look at that, and he found some gold in it, So he said, if you know where to look, you can find gold. And I thought, wow, if you know where to look or how to look, you can find gold. And I hear the cat. Can you hear the cat crying? So what is the alchemy? alchemy was the science of the Middle Ages. That was prior to that was the science of the Middle Ages before Enlightenment and the scientific method came in. And see, I'm going to throw something at the cat. Get out of here. Get. It didn't work. I forgot to shut the doors. All right, so the idea was the philosopher's stone that would turn base metal into gold. So all of the science, the metaphorical meaning of it was that if you could find this stone, this magical formula that would turn base metal into gold. So this is a metaphorical idea, because what's a base metal and what's gold? Well, let's fill in the blank. It could be anything, you see. But so we're looking at it turning base metal into gold. So how do you turn tension into relief? Well, you go to a massage therapist is a philosopher's stone. You go there with tension, and he goes to the tension and turns the tension into relief. My wife used to be a massage therapist, and boy, I'll tell you, her hands would find a knot, and it would hurt, and it hurts so good. Oh yes, it hurts so good, and oh, I'm relieved of it. So the philosopher's stone in a massage goes to the base metal, which is a tension, and turns it into release, or sorrow into joy, or pain into pleasure, or negative into positive. So this idea of turning base metal is something that has no use, or we don't like, or is painful, into its opposite is the idea of alchemy. Buddhism, the teaching, the Buddha Dharma, is alchemy in the sense that when asked what he teaches, Buddha said, "I teach suffering and the cessation of suffering," and that's it. I teach suffering, I teach base metal, and the cessation of suffering, the end of suffering, which is the goal. Very simple. So this idea, and so the base metal, and the idea behind Buddha Dharma, and the idea behind what I've discovered in my life is that what do we have the most of is suffering, tension, irritation, annoyance. I mean, we've got plenty of that. I mean, we've got, so wouldn't it be great if we could turn since it's so available, if we could turn that into joy, creativity, the end of suffering, pleasure. And I hate to use the word pleasure because that's seeking something in the future, but completion, or the end of suffering is the end of the tension that we want release from. You see, the end of suffering is not Valhalla, where you're just wow, oh, I'm so ecstatic all the time. No, it's the end of the tension that wants release. The tension is painful or suffering, which, as I said, can be from minor irritation all the way to violent act, you see. So we want to get released from this tension, this knot, this contraction, this imprisonment, this loss of freedom, to be without boundaries, to be without tension, to be without suffering. And so this whole idea is everywhere, and the idea of the alchemy and the philosopher's stone kind of like puts the whole thing into a simple metaphor. And so even let's take a look at our consumer society. That's what we live in. We live in a consumer society that has an economic engine that creates, that manufactures stuff, and it sells stuff. And we're look around your house and go to Walmart. I mean, we live in a field of things being created and discarded, and new things coming and old going away. So there's a constant changing of stuff from useless to useful. And what's useful today becomes useless tomorrow, and we get more stuff. And so this whole idea of the consumer society, I was just thinking before I began this talk, turns suffering into what? New products. So our society does not teach or provide the end of suffering. It just provides a new substitute to relieve you of suffering temporarily. And what is the philosopher's stone that drives this economic system? Advertising. So, Mad Men, remember that? I loved it. I watched it 3 times. Mad Men was about the philosopher's stone of advertising, because the ad tells you where your suffering is. Oh, oh, you're negative, your problems and all this, and you feel it puts you in touch with your. Oh yeah, I really need something. I'm really I got a problem, and then it provides the elixir, the product that will relieve you of that tension, and you go out and buy it, and then it relieves tension for a while, but then it becomes. It dies. And so the ad comes and says, you need a new one. The next model is going to relieve you of the tension of this model. Now, this product is better than the one you've got. So if you've got some suffering with this one, buy this and you'll be relieved of it. So we're just running, you see, from one product to the next under the illusion that the next best thing will remove permanently the suffering of this tension, this feeling of incompleteness, this feeling of not being home yet, of not being whole, of not being complete, you see. So there's nothing wrong with this because it provides jobs, but we need to understand it. That we need to understand that this is that the ad is not the philosopher's stone that will remove the pain, the suffering of consciousness permanently. It's only a temporary fix. So, and usually we all come to the point as we get older where we see through the ruse, and we just, I bought that, I tried it, I did that, it didn't work. We've done everything, nothing works, So that basically is a step in the spiritual path when you realize that there is no permanent satisfaction in form. That form, that stuff, that products, that consumer goods, that the next best thing will never give you permanent release from suffering. So when we realize that, usually that is a turn to a spiritual path or a interior seeking for the real philosopher's stone that will that the Buddha's teaching provides, and I'm not selling Buddhism here as the next best thing, but the teaching that there is suffering and there is cessation of suffering. And so basically the philosopher's stone is a way to transmute suffering like annoyance when the internet goes out into the gold of something useful, which I did in turning that annoyance into a talk. People do this all the time. You see grief, their house burns down, there's a grief, there's an anger, their son's killed, and they start a movement to fix things, or people turn that grief, that suffering into something positive, into something useful, you see. Rather than just wallowing in being a victim, you see. So this whole idea of suffering creates a sense of I'm a victim of the world. The internet's down, I'm a victim of the internet. You see, I'm helpless and I'm angry, Well, then I take that annoyance and turn it into, in this situation, I turned it into a talk. So I turned it into gold. So that's the idea of the base metal turning it into gold, which is useful, productive, and creative. And when it's creative, it's joyful. It's joyous. Finding gold is joyous. Gold is a symbol of light, of the sun. of eternal joy, you see. So look for the gold in your backyard, and keep coming to these talks as we search for the Philosopher's Stone and our moments in Zen, or Buddhas in your landfill. And I'll see you this evening at It's Martini Time, where I'm going to talk about Kuan Yin and my little jade omelet, and the Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva compassion. So I'll see you at Martini Time at 5 o'clock.